Monster draft news out of the NFL. The San Francisco 49ers acquiring the number 3 overall pick in next month's draft from Miami Dolphins, who then traded the number 12 pick to the Philadelphia Eagles for the 6th pick in the first round. Here's a look at the full trade details that went down on Friday. The Niners sent the 12th overall pick plus a future first-rounder and a future third-rounder to the Dolphins to make it happen. Again, Miami moved up to the 6th overall pick in a trade with the Eagles. The Dolphins are sending a package that includes the 12th overall pick and a first-round pick in 2022 back to Philadelphia. The NFL draft kicks off on April 29th in Cleveland. Here's a look at the draft order from 1 through 12. Trevor Lawrence is the presumptive number 1 pick going to Jacksonville. Jets are the wild card. They've got 2 first-round picks, the 2nd and the 23rd selection. Perhaps they'll take Zach Wilson out of BYU or get some offensive line help for Sam Darnold and go with Penei Sewell out of Oregon. 49ers again moving up to 3 in prime position to select a franchise quarterback. All right, break it down. Welcome in CBS Sports NFL draft analyst Ryan Wilson, the Natalie-clad Ryan Wilson. He's ready for draft day. Zach Wilson had an impressive pro day, but of course he did. Said after his pro day, quote, "New York is a great spot," end quote. Ryan, what should Joe Douglas and the Jets do in this spot?
Yeah, I think they're going to take Zach Wilson. I think it's pretty cut and dry. They were all over the pro day there watching Zach Wilson play. And as you point out, Akeem, Zach did exactly what you thought he would do. He followed up a really good season in 2020, a spectacular season by all accounts, where the BYU lost 1 game, and that was the final game against Coastal Carolina on the final play, and he parlayed that into a really good pro day. No surprise there. So the thing is, we didn't really know what was going to happen after number 1 when Trevor Lawrence is going to presumably go to the Jaguars. And then you start to hear reports today that the Jets are going to be all in on Zach Wilson, and maybe Sam Darnold will be in the rear view, traded, perhaps moved elsewhere. But the plan, it sounds like, according to reports, is that Zach Wilson looks like the fit at number 2. Dane Brugler of The Athletic tweeted out that he got a text from a scout at the BYU Pro Day and said that Zach Wilson isn't going past number 2. So there's been reports now recently, and as recently as last week, it was sort of unclear what the Jets might do, but it certainly sounds like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, and then the 49ers are going to be picking there at 3rd. So it certainly feels like 3 quarterbacks off the board for the first time since 1999, when it was Tim Couch that was the first one off the board, followed by Donovan McNabb and then Kelly Smith.
Ryan, what do you say to the folks that say, all right, Zach Wilson, maybe he's just a little bit better than than Sam Darnold? What do you say to those people, to the doubters of Zach Wilson?
No, and that's a fair point, and there are concerns around the league about Zach Wilson, not that he's not a top 5 selection, but just that he had the 1-year productivity at BYU. In 2019, he was, in his defense, injured for part of that season, and he still played pretty well, given the fact that he wasn't 100%. But you watched him in 2020, he was making every single throw. His arm strength is off the charts good. There were some concerns that he wouldn't be 6'2", because a lot of times when you're listed at 6'2", you're going to be an inch or 2 shorter. He was exactly 6'2". He moves really well inside the pocket. The concerns are that sometimes when he gets out of the pocket, and he has pretty good athleticism, he takes hits he doesn't need to take. So the durability issues might be there. In terms of comparison to Sam Darnold's been there long enough that we haven't seen the progress you want to see from 1 year to the next. And yes, you could point to Adam Gase not being quite the quarterback whisperer we were hoping for, but if this draft class is the one that you like in terms of the quarterbacks available, you're picking number 2, which you don't hope to do ever again, especially with a new coach and the GM and Joe Douglas, who's just recently been there for a few years. You're going to take your quarterback and then move on from Sam Darnold, because yes, Adam Gase didn't get the most out of Sam Darnold, but that's not Robert Saleh's problem. Robert Saleh's problem is to win football games as soon as possible. And if Zach Wilson is your guy, you love the 2021 QB draft class, you don't feel great about the 2022 QB draft class, which as we sit here isn't going to be a lights out group. That could certainly change in the next 12 months. That's why you target Zach Wilson, if that's who you love, as the Giants there at number 2.
Before Zach Wilson and his family start looking at real estate in East Rutherford.
Or Florham Park, yeah.
Florham Park, nice little house, raised ranch.
Yep.
Before that happens, from where I'm sitting, Friday's events told me something different. It told me that the Jets might be taking Penei Sewell at number 2. John Lynch, Kyle Shanahan, they jump on the horn with their old pal Robert Saleh, get a good feeling for who would and wouldn't be around in that 3 spot. You don't give up 2 firsts to take a wide out there at number 3. So indulge me here, Ryan. Who do the Niners nab if Wilson is there and if he's not there at number 3?
So that's an interesting theory, Joe, because that's similar to the one that Will Brinson floated on the Pick 6 podcast. And I was all in on it until I heard the reports that Zach Wilson feels like he's going to be connected to the Jets. But let's assume that he's there at 3 and the Jets go in another direction. They take Penei Sewell, whomever they take there. So at number 3, what do the 49ers do? The great news about whichever quarterbacks are there, not named Trevor Lawrence for number 3, is that your coach is going to be Kyle Shanahan. So who is Kyle Shanahan good with in terms of quarterbacks, young or old? Everybody. RG3 he worked with. That's exactly right. RG3 he worked with in 2012 when he was the offensive coordinator in Washington. That was the best year of RG3's career. You could argue that the injury certainly played a role in why his career didn't continue along that path, and those are some of the concerns with Zach Wilson taking those hits that I mentioned earlier. But guess who else excelled in Kyle Shanahan's scheme? Kirk Cousins. Who plays like Kirk Cousins? Mac Jones. There you go. Matt Ryan's another example who is more Mac Jones than uber athlete RG3, for example. So any quarterback fits what you want in terms of Kyle Shanahan's system. And we'll talk about this, but a little sneak peek on Monday's mock draft. I'm going to have Mac Jones going 3rd to the 49ers. I am sold on that. Joe, you and I have talked about this during the football season, how much we love Mac Jones. And I said at the time, there are teams that like Mac Jones as a top 10 pick. And not you, Joe, but there were other people that laughed in my face. And, that may come true. The problem with Mac Jones is he looks like he's a 40-year-old taking his kids to soccer practice. If he looked like Tua Tagovailoa in terms of that physique, we'd all be talking about as a top 5 pick. So I think the great thing about where the 49ers currently find themselves, and it was extremely expensive to move up, is that they're going to have their pick of quarterbacks after Trevor Lawrence, and assuming Zach Wilson goes number 2, they'll have 3 to choose from. All of those quarterbacks fit what Kyle Shanahan does well, and that's a great spot to be in if you truly believe, as John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan appear to do, that one of those 3 guys is going to be their guy of the future.
The only logical follow-up is who gets number 10? Going to be an awkward room there in San Francisco.
Yeah. You're going to move on from Jimmy G, I guess. I guess that's and replace. So you're going to wait. So you're going to go from one of the most handsome men in the NFL to the guy that you said looks like a 40-year-old dad who takes his kids to soccer practice. Like, that's what you're selling to the fans of San Francisco right now.
It gets worse because, again, I don't want to keep talking about Will Brinson, but he mentioned this on the Pick Six podcast, and he would know based on Will Brinson's appearance. Mac Jones looks like he sells commercial real estate. He's the guy that's going to sell you a warehouse. That's Mac Jones. He ain't Jimmy G. He's not a supermodel, no doubt about it.
Maybe he's got a good connection for Wilson, too, in either.
Maybe, but look, hey, Tom Brady didn't look all that great either. So maybe Mac Jones is the new Tom Brady. We'll have to wait and see on that. The Dolphins were the ones that stirred all this up on Friday. They go from 3rd to 12th and then to 6th after a pair of trades. Like the Jets, the Dolphins also have 2 first-round picks this year. They've got the 18th overall selection as well. Ryan, what do you project Miami will do with that 6th pick?
Man, Akeem, that was a wild 15 minutes if you're a Dolphins fan. Going down to 12, you're like, okay, we're out of the quarterback market. That's confirmed now. Chris Greer, the GM, has said that, but now we believe it. We're at 6. Oh, wait a second, we're going back up to 6. So what are we doing now? And I think the thing is, I'm just speculating here, the plan was for the Dolphins, let's get as many picks as we can from a team that wants to move up to 3 and reevaluate where we are. And if we want to move up, let's do that. And that's exactly what happened in the span of less than a half an hour. And I think what they're thinking about, Akeem, is they want to get back up to 6 and get a playmaker for Tua Tagovailoa. He appears to be their franchise quarterback of the future. The Deshaun Watson talk has died down. The talk of taking one of these quarterbacks in this draft class has died down. So what do? I love someone like Jamar Chase if he's there, and he probably will be. I love Jalen Waddle if he's there. And again, sneak peek, I have Jalen Waddle going to the Dolphins in Monday's mock draft just because he is so incredibly explosive. They signed Will Fuller on a 1-year deal. They have Preston Williams on 1 more year left in his deal. Devontae Parker is a huge playmaker for them. Jalen Waddle brings you another element of playmaking ability. No one can guard Jalen Waddle. To me, he is better than Henry Ruggs, who was the first wide receiver drafted last year, and a part of that four-headed horseman, if you will, at Alabama 2 years ago that included Jalen Waddle. And I think the other thing that Jalen Waddle gives you is kick return ability. That's how he got injured in that game against Tennessee, of course, but he is explosive in every facet. And if the job for Tua is not to throw the ball down the field, which he struggled with at times last year, but to get the ball out quickly, who better than Jalen Waddle to give the ball to? So I like them to target a wide receiver there. Maybe even Kyle Pitts as the tight end who can do just about everything. But I think playmaker is the position you have to target if you're the Dolphins at number 6 now.
Yeah, and if they go Waddle, that would reunite Tua Tagovailoa and Jalen Waddle together now as Dolphins teammates. However, we do know that Waddle said he prefers, like Ryan Wilson, prefers Mac Jones over Tua Tagovailoa. So they'd have to get past that. there in Miami if Jalen Waddle ends up going to South Beach.
There is a Bama web to be woven everywhere you look, but we do have to look to Philly next. The Eagles, with a roster that has more holes than a colander, perhaps trying to maximize their draft footprint by moving back from that 6th spot in a trade with San Fran. It netted them the 12th and then the 123rd pick this year. Also, they get the Niners' first next season. Do you like this Belichickian approach pre-draft here, and who do you think the Birds should target at 12?
Yeah, so now it feels like the Eagles are playing four-dimensional chess, because don't forget, in Week 17, we could not figure out why the Eagles were tanking that game. Nate Sudfeld came in. Doug Peterson made excuses for taking out Jalen Hurts. Nate Sudfeld's gone. Doug Peterson's gone. But they earned the Eagles a first-round pick when they get to trade down from 6 to 12. Because if they had been at 9, which is where they would have been had they won that game, they're probably not in the trade conversation. So well done, Doug, on that one. So what happens now? So this, sort of like Tua and the Dolphins, it certainly feels like the Eagles are all in on Jalen Hurts. And we'd heard reports about that's what they wanted to do. Howie Roseman, the GM, hinted that they were going to build around Jalen. But you never believe it until it actually happens on draft day. Now that they've moved down, it certainly feels that way. So what are they going to do at 12? Get more playmakers for Jalen Hurts. You can certainly take an offensive lineman there. They need help along the offensive line, but I feel like if someone like Devonta Smith is on the board, you go get him. They got Jalen Reagor last year. He had an up-and-down rookie season, in part because he was injured. But some of the other wide receivers they've taken in recent drafts haven't worked out. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside has underperformed, and I feel like someone like Devonta Smith is an absolute game changer. Heisman Trophy winner. The only issue is, of course, that he weighs 170 pounds, which is exactly what he weighed during his season, is what he weighed at his pro day. He says he always weighs that, so that's not going to change. And we talk about durability issues with Devonta Smith. The funny thing is, Jalen Waddle was the one that got injured. Devonta Smith hasn't missed any games at Alabama for serious injuries. I think he's had a few soft tissue injuries, but other than that, he has showed up game in and game out and balled game in and game out. And I feel like that would help Jalen Hurts transition from going to part-time player to full-time starter, which now appears to be the plan.
He is Ryan Wilson, coming through with all your draft and real estate needs. Thank you, Ryan. Heck of a commission, might I add. Heck of a commission, not standard issue. Let's take a look at Ryan Wilson's latest mock draft. Here's 1 through 12, full mock, dropping on Monday as they always do. We call them Mention Mondays because my guy Ryan Wilson's phone is ringing off the hook throughout the day. You didn't get my guy, you got it right, whichever side you're on. They're blowing him up at Ryan Wilson CBS. But here's a look at 1 through 12 going Lawrence Wilson Jones before we see a non-QB go at 4 in Tackle Penei Sewell.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.